We will begin with talking about a woman's reproductive health, as we all are aware, from biology or from practical experience, because I can see we have like 5 or so women. And for the men, you have studied biology. I'm sure you have an idea, you have a glimpse of what we are going to talk about. So, a woman's reproductive health, reproductive system is very interesting. And for me, I say it is one of the most beautiful things that God ever created. Because when you study the reproductive health, we see the wonders. And it is also in the woman's reproductive health that a child is carried for 9 months, and that is the same place that this child dwells for 9 months. There is growth, they change from an ova to an embryo and to a fetus and to a child. So this is a very beautiful, and if I may call it, a sacred place. It is created in a beautiful way that we are only able to access the opening of the whole reproductive system. So whatever it is that the naked eye can see is only the opening. And inside the reproductive health of a woman is reproductive system of a woman is like so many things. We start with the ovaries, we go to the fallopian tubes, down to the uterus, the cervix, the vulva, and all these things that are inside a woman. And the biggest challenge that we have is that sometimes we don't know how to care for this reproductive system through the vagina, which is the organ that we can be able to see with our naked eye. So sometimes there are things that a woman does or fails to do that interfere with the reproductive system, and in return, when the reproductive system is interfered with, it gives back, it fights back. So I usually say, and I use this example every so often, I don't know how many of us, if any, are able to, every time they go to the bathroom, they're able to put a bathing towel inside our nose to clean it. I don't know how many of us are able to do that. I don't know how many of us are able to go to the bathroom and pour a lot of water inside your ear and clean with a bathing towel and just, because they feel they're dirty. I don't know if you're here and you would say, I am able to clean inside my eyes, inside the eye, using, a bathing towel because it's dirty. That is the same way I tell women that God created our reproductive system, and it is inside, it is within. And so he had to create, just like he has created mucus for our noses, just like he has created tears for our eyes, just like he has created wax for our ears, he has allowed a woman to have vaginal discharge. And that is where we are going to start when we start talking about caring for our vagina. The first thing I'm very keen on, to us, the African men and women, in my community and growing up, we used to say, I'll first say it in Swahili and then say it in English, uchafu wa mwanamke. In my Kikuyu language, we used to say, gikokia mutumia. In English, if I try to translate it, I would say, there are people who say the dirt of a woman, like they do not really understand that discharge is not meant to be dirty. Discharge is not meant to be something filthy. It is meant to be something that your immune system creates so that it can protect you from infection, so that it can protect you from many other things. And this discharge has been put the same way God put tears, the same way God put mucus in us, to cleanse, to clean, to protect, and to keep our vagina and our entire reproductive system very healthy. The challenge comes in if we do some things, or if we fail to do some things that interfere with the production of this discharge. Because remember, it is being produced every now and then, and it is meant to protect. It's a way of the body protecting itself. So for us as women, and For you, as a man who is taking notes on behalf of a woman, I would want you to learn that this discharge comes with different textures at different times of the month. Just when you're ovulating, the discharge is very slimy and very, so that it can allow the sperm to move, to swim very fast, and to be able to get to the fertilization. It is at the same time, it is the one that helps, just make sure that the swimming of the sperm is very fast and very swift. Just before your periods, the discharge is sticky. Sometimes it is milky white, and so it keeps changing depending on the time of the month. But then there are things that we do or we fail to do that makes our discharge start having a very strong smell. It causes itching. It causes a woman to be very uncomfortable, and that is when we say a woman is suffering from candidiasis or yeast infection. Sometimes urinary tract infection is a bit different. It's a bit different from the yeast infection and candidiasis. Yeast infection and candidiasis, you see, our entire system is made up of bacteria. The same way we have bacteria in our stomach, we have bacteria that are meant to protect us, that are meant to provide us with the health that we need in our reproductive system. If these bacteria are overproduced or underproduced, then it means then that our discharge will not be the same. Some bacteria are able to aggravate the production of the candidiasis. I'll call it, the candida is like, it's actually a bacteria. So sometimes some things are aggravate, and the first thing that aggravates our bacterial production in our reproductive system, the first and the simplest thing that aggravates the bacteria to be produced in excess is one, dehydration. When you are dehydrated, when your body does not have enough water. I think I cannot emphasize enough, since we started these sessions, keeping hydrated has been very key. We realize that we cannot do without water. So when you're not well hydrated, remember, for a woman, we are created in a beautiful way, because the reproductive health, that the reproductive system of a woman that is visible to the human eye has two parts. We have where the urine comes out from, the one that is connected to your bladder, to your kidneys. Then we have another place, now the vagina, where the baby comes out from and where the baby gets in through. So it means then that if you are dehydrated, your urine is very high concentrated. You know the way very high concentrated urine smells bad? Imagine now when you are dehydrated and your urine is yellow or orange in color, that very strong smell affects the vagina and affects the production of the bacteria in your vagina, and you will never have an end to yeast infection. If your body pH is either low or high, then you will never hear the end of yeast infection and candidiasis. How do we manage to keep a balanced pH? One is drinking water. Two is minimizing the acidic and the high sugars, high refined sugars and salts and fats in our diet. Yeast infections are also caused. There are women who will have yeast infection frequently, and maybe it's not their fault. When you're pregnant, the heat that comes from inside, you makes you prone to yeast infections. A woman who is diabetic and she is on medication for diabetes is also highly prone to yeast infection. And when I talk about yeast infection, it is a variety of bacterial infections. Candidiasis, there are different forms of this yeast infection. Another woman who is highly prone to yeast infection is a woman when she's undergoing menopause. When you're going through menopause, you have a high prevalence of having yeast infection. A woman who is on her periods, because of the heat that comes from within, and also sometimes the heat that comes from without. You're wearing a pad, it is soaked, then you have stayed for so long with it, it means that the heat will come in. Another way that we aggravate yeast infection and candidiasis as women is what kind of underwears are we wearing? I want you to think about it as a woman. I laugh whenever I see, I tell women, you can invest in a shirt or a blouse or a t-shirt and a skirt, and you can buy clothes worth 5,000 Kenyan shillings or $550. You can invest in that because people will see the outside. I always say that if a wind was to come this day, a very strong wind was to come, and then it takes away the external clothes, the bras and the panties we would see with these women, my friend. Wait, hey. Some of them are so torn they cannot even be hanged outside. Some of them are nylon. Some of them, they're in the terrible shape. So some of these, the inner wears that we are wearing, if you wear a nylon and tight underwear, then I want you to do an experiment of putting polythene bag, the nylon polythene bag, on your nose and your mouth, and you tell me how long you will take before you suffocate. That is the same thing you're doing to your vagina whenever you wear very tight underwears and nylon ones. And then when they feel the heat, it produces very strong bacteria to protect your inside from this heat. And so it means that your discharge will be very, very smelly. Sometimes it gets even to a color that I have seen women suffering from yeast infection that was green in color. Their discharge was green, from white to cream white to green. By that time you are itching, you are scratching your vagina because it is irritated and it is angry. At the same time, if you are like that, it means then you will not even be able to enjoy sex. You will be so, it is painful. It will be irritating. So the kind of underwears that we are wearing, there are some of us who are wearing underwear, biker, trouser, and like 10 clothes inside. Yeah, my friend. Don't you want to breathe? Yes, the same way you want to breathe, your vagina also needs to breathe. You're going to bed in 10 to 15 clothes. How? Hey, my friend, please. In Kiswahili, we say punguza. I'll say reduce them, okay? So when you reduce them, then it means that you will be able to breathe. It will be able to breathe and your vagina will remain healthy. During your periods, how long are you taking to change your sanitary towels? How long are you doing that? Then also there is another group of women who, because of their nature, the nature of their body and the pH, they are allergic to the semen. So in that case, it means then there's nothing much that can be done. It's just like the diabetic women, the women going through menopause. Those are some of the risk factors. Those are some of the things that cause yeast infection and the candidiasis that we are not able to control. So if you realize you have an allergy for semen, then it means then you will need to see your gynecologist, or you can talk to me beside, and I will be able to guide you on a diet that will be able to help you be able to manage your pH and to understand what happens to try and reduce the allergies. Okay. Now I'm moving towards the urinary tract infections. Urinary tract infections are completely different from the yeast infection because the yeast infection and the candidiasis, they affect the reproductive system. The urinary tract infection is mostly also caused by bacteria on our bladder, from the urethra. So it is where the urine is coming from. It is where the urine is produced. And you remember that urine is a byproduct. It is toxin. These are some of the, it is some are a way of your body removing some of these toxins. So when we say a woman or a man has urinary tract infection, it means then that the urine is either over concentrated, or there is an excess production of specific bacteria in your bladder, on your urethra, and so it is causing discomfort. What are some of the symptoms of urinary tract infections? One is you feel you really want to pass urine, but when you go to the washroom, it is not coming out, or if it comes out, it is painful, and it is very in Swahili we say inawasha. I don't know how to say it in English, but it is very uncomfortable. Sometimes it is even painful. For a woman, sometimes when the UTI, the urinary tract infection is high and it has overgrown, the bacteria have overgrown, then they will have a very severe pain on their lower tummy. The lower tummy will have severe pain. The lower back will also have severe pain. And that is when we say, by that time, the bacteria have really overgrown. So most of the time when you go to hospital, and the gynecologist will just press on your lower tummy and you will feel the pain, most, if not always, they'll give you antibiotics to try and kill these bacteria. But there are some things that you can be able to do to reduce the risk of having UTI in your body. The first thing you can do is drink enough water. When you drink enough water, your urine will be colorless. Anytime you have urine that has any color, then it means that it is infected. It could be orange, it could be yellow, it could be red, now when in the worst cases, okay? So try and drink enough water for your urine to be colorless, just as colorless as water. When it is colorless, then it means that it will not encourage excess production of bacteria in your bladder, in your urethra, and it will also protect your vagina from getting yeast infection. Number two, you can get to encourage your body to be taking antibiotics, the natural antibiotics. What are some of the natural antibiotics that we have? And as we continue, please remember, if you have any comment, if you have any question, you can write on our chat box and I will be able to see the questions and I'll be able to respond any comment. Feel free to write on our chat box. So some of the natural antibiotics that God has given us is like ginger. I know we know ginger root, we know turmeric root. We can take, I'm forgetting the other one. It has disappeared. When I remember, I will tell you. I've forgotten the other natural antibiotics. So if you get used to taking natural antibiotics and probiotics, when we talk about probiotics, these are drinks that mostly encourage a balanced production of bacteria from head to toe. Probiotics are like yogurt. Yes, you can take yogurt. You can take kombucha, that is fermented black tea, purple tea, or hibiscus tea. You can take tepache. Tepache is fermented pineapples. If you're able to ferment pineapple. In short, probiotics are fermented foods, and these things that I'm talking about, drinking water, taking natural probiotics, they will help you prevent UTI and yeast infection. At the same time, they will give you a healthy gut. So you are able to achieve so many goals at the same time by just drinking enough water, just drinking probiotics, just drinking the fermented drinks, and even eating the fermented foods. So God has given us natural things and natural ways of controlling some of these infections that we have. I see a woman who is saying that every now and then they have yeast infection, and when they go to hospital, they are given a cream. They apply, it disappears, then it comes back. Yes, that is very normal because the cream is not solving the problem. Some of these tablets we are even given to insert, they do not solve the problem. The problem will only be solved internally, not even externally. And how you solve is by the things that I've just talked about. Drink enough water, encourage hygiene, proper hygiene, because also another cause of yeast infection and UTI is improper hygiene. You cannot be so dirty and you expect things to be happy. You cannot be so dirty and you're not able to clean your body well. And when I talk about cleaning, allow me to say this before I forget. I know on our shelves, our supermarket, our chemist, we have all these, they're called what? I can't remember how they call it. They have all these, I think some of them sell in form of balls, others in form of perfume, others in form of shampoo. And they tell you that they tell you that you need to buy some specific soap to wash your vagina. You need to, I don't know, do what. Those are lies. Those are marketing stunts. I told you, if you cannot put a bathing towel with soap inside your nose, please do not put that thing inside your vagina. Just clean with warm water. If it is bad, it is painful, if it's that time when you have a yeast infection, you can use salt water. But that business of I don't know, scrubbing your vagina, especially inside with your not toothbrush. No, I did not mean toothbrush. I meant with your bathing towel, and you're there scrubbing. You want to remain happy and healthy, and you're saying, "Hey, I need to smell." There's someone who even sprays some specific perfume and some glitters. There's a lady who told me that. There's a time she wanted to go and see a gynecologist, and it was her first time. And she was so scared. So she really cleaned herself and then got these glitters. You know, the glitters that we apply on a bride on their wedding day. So she wanted to impress the gynecologist with glitters. Do not do that, please. If you don't have the ability, if you do not clean your nose with that thing, if you cannot clean your nose inside, I'm not talking about here, I'm talking about inside. If you cannot clean your nose with that soap, with that perfume, please stop that business of cleaning. So now I've talked briefly about hygiene. I've talked about what can we do internally. I want to briefly talk about some of these things that we can be able to do to exercise. I know we have not addressed the first topic, and because of time, I know I see we have 8 minutes. I know we will just have to have another whole 1 hour session to talk about her libido enhancer. You realize I have not talked about libido today. It is because of time, but I want to talk about we want to talk about how to care for our vagina. And when we talk about a vagina, we're talking about the entire reproductive system. So please note, we are talking about the entire reproductive system. I don't know whether you've heard of, okay, awesome. Thank you. I have seen the question. I will be able to address that one. So I wanted to talk about, yes, how to care for your vaginal muscles, because as you age, the same way your muscles here, your body, your skin is sagging. As we age as women, our vaginal muscles also age and they sag. So most women in their old age, they get something we call a prolapse. Prelapse, yes, prelapse. This means then that the vaginal muscles relax and it comes out, the reproductive system starts coming out. And so there are some people who will use a very shady language and say it becomes loose. I know you've heard about it, your vagina becoming loose. It is the muscles that, sag. So one of the ways we can be able to encourage firmer and to tone our muscles, just like we tone our muscles on our face, we firm them by exercising. So there is an exercise called Kegel exercise. If you don't know Kegel exercise, you can Google or you can ask me what Kegel exercise is and how to do it. Number 2, it is also a part of the Kegel exercise. When you're going to the washroom and you're passing urine, do you just pour like a cow, or you're supposed to help, you're supposed to have like breaks, we'll call them breaks. So when you're passing urine, you don't just pour everything at the same time. You have to have breaks, just like Kegel. Kegel is when you hold, release. When I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the hand. Of course, I'm talking about the the vaginal area. You can feel your muscles. Hold the muscles. Hold for some few minutes, release. See the way my hand is doing? The same way, that is how you hold your vaginal muscles and you release. That is how you tone your vaginal muscles. It's called Kegel exercise. You do not Kegel, you do not need, I know that we have even Kegel balls being sold in the market. You don't need any balls. You don't need to go to a supermarket or to a shop and to buy these balls. You can do it naturally. God has taught us. You can do it naturally when you're passing urine. You can do it naturally even during sexual intercourse. You hold, and you release. You can do it anywhere, anytime, any day, and as many times as possible. Our time is moving a bit fast. I'm seeing what causes vaginal dryness. Will you allow me to address this next week when we will be talking about her libido enhancers, because this is a part of the libido. And if I start going to that direction, we only have 4 minutes. I'll not be able to address this. So today we have been able to address urinary tract infection, yeast infection, and how to care for our vagina internally and externally. I would want us to just have what? My English has disappeared. You know, this English has a tendency of just disappearing. You know, when you really want to speak in English and it just disappears. So now let's see our take home. What are our take home notes today for our session? One, our take home is that we will drink enough water so that we can be able to balance our body pH, remove the toxins, and make sure that our urine is colorless. Two, our take home is that we will enjoy probiotics. Probiotics are fermented drinks, are fermented foods. These are things that will help us maintain a healthy gut, a healthy, normal, average, balanced bacteria. Number three, we have agreed that we will stop using all those soaps and perfumes on our vaginas and just let God do his work as he created us. Let the discharge be as clear as possible. Whenever it has an odor, it means then there's an issue. Whenever you are itching, it means then that you have an issue. Before I leave, I will give another one secret. If you can get extra virgin, there's no extra, it is virgin coconut oil. It is the best answer to reducing the yeast infections that are disturbing you. How do you use? You can drink the coconut oil, or you can apply on your vagina. When you do, it is able to help regulate the bacteria on your vagina. Our last take home, we've said we'll take water, we'll do prebiotics, we will clean it well. And our last take home is that we will exercise Kegel exercises. That is how we will take care of our vagina. And when we're talking about the vagina, we're talking about the entire reproductive system that we are not able to see. It is the entry of the reproductive system. So you are taking of the reproductive system. Now that time is not on our side, allow me to conclude and say that next week, we will talk about her libido. We'll talk about the dryness. Someone has asked, does the vagina have to smell different at different times of the month, say during and after, or the menses and the normal cycle, or the smell has to be the same? Yes, it smells different because the bacteria are totally different, because as we said, even the texture changes. The same way the texture changes. Remember that during your ovulation is when your body is calling for fertilization. When it is time for fertilization, it smells really nice to attract a man so that he can be able to come and fertilize the egg. It is that simple. When it is just before your periods, it smells a bit different so that it can keep a man away, and also to prepare for the blood that is just about to come. I hope I have answered your question, and I see that our time is up. Thank you very much for your time. I am sincere.